What is up, my little Deinos? Vepsis here, your coach of the Helsinki Hydreigons, and we are here for the Champions of Galar Tournament Season 2 quarterfinals, the Round 1 playoffs. This is where it begins, so whether we can proceed to the next round, to the semifinals, or our season ends here. It's do-or-die situation, and we go up against Kurt, who was the 8th seed and the final team that made to the playoffs for the round 1. We were the number 1 seed going to this playoff bracket in itself, which is a nice feat to have for sure, but I would obviously like to accomplish the main goal in playoffs, which is winning the championship. But the road starts from here for everybody, and honestly, I think it's a situation that anybody can beat anybody in this league in playoff brackets. I don't see like a seeding really give a huge factor or advantage for anybody. Like for example, I can see that how Kurt can beat me, and I'll be cautious of that in itself. And I can see some surprises to be happening. I hope for my sake, consider like I'm the number 1 seed, I won't be the one that is gonna be eliminated right away. But we'll see. He's a tough opponent. I had to play him once before, I believe, a long time ago in a playoff scenario, and he did manage to beat me very narrowly in a semi-finals game. So hopefully this time around I can turn the ties with that, considering who I'm going up against. And we're gonna be going through the team in itself, the team of 6 that I'm bringing. You can see already on the layout on the right side as well that what 6 I'm predicting my opponent to bring. And for the matchup in itself, you should be seeing right about now on your screen for a few seconds. So if you wanna look a little bit more closely, you can pause the video here and kind of see that what we are dealing here. But starting this, as one does when they draft Landorus there, and of course we are going to be starting off this team builder with my Landorus Therian set. This time around I'm going to be running JustKurt Landorus Therian because I want to bring more of a proactive and more offensive team in a way, and I want to have this speed control with Landorus Therian. Like, even though like a defensive Landorus Therian seemed like an easy choice to deal with the Serra Aura that he has, one of my favorite mods in this generation to use, as we know, watching for my channel in itself. And like at first glance team preview, it will force Serra Aura to be like a toxic sub protect or something like that. It has to have some sort of like probably toxic on it in itself, or maybe even knockoff. But I don't plan to use my Landorus Therian as a dedicated switching to it all the time, and I don't foresee ideally Serra Aura having too many opportunities to come in and always be clicking attacking move versus me, and me being in a defensive position. And versus everything else that he has, I like JustKurt a little bit better, because then I can outpace things like ourself, I can outpace the Serra Aura in itself, I can outpace potential Scaffer like a Blaziken, and well, Mamoswine as well kind of covers that as well, but I don't expect Mamoswine to be JustKurt versus me. I do think it's gonna be Life Orb, or at least not choice locked into JustKurt, having a JustKurt on it in itself. So it's not the perfect winning condition when it comes to speed control, but I think Scarf is still very efficient versus maturity of the things he has. And we are running Earthquake, Rock Slide, Knockoff, and Uther. Rock Slide to hit the Galar Moltres, Knockoff just to be able to eliminate items. Something like a Suicune's leftovers can be a big deal. And I have noticed, at least thus far, what I've seen from his videos, I'm actually meant to finish his watching his videos in itself before the game actually happens. It's going to happen in 2 hours for me as I'm recording this, so I have a little time to kind of like get a feel of my opponent that way. But what I remember, I don't believe him running too many like Restock Suicunes, so leftovers are usually his form of recovery on it alongside Protect, and if I can eliminate those with Knockoff, it would be pretty nice. And then U-turn is there for the initiative, of course, with Landorus Therian. Then there's gonna be my dedicated lead, very weird looking Necrozma, and there certainly would have been other options that I could have run on it, but I wanted to have a dedicated lead that provides me Stealth Rock support, eliminating items with Knockoff, which can be a big deal versus something like Galar Moltres, so I get rid of its weakness policy, or heavy duty boots, because it's a relatively free switching to me, barring a Meteor Beam that he would have to scout for. But this is also there to provide me Reflect support with a Light Clay, because this enables me to have a little bit easier time dealing with a Mamoswine, which is by far the biggest threat to me early game while it's in a high health. And it's able to like break quite a bit of my team. And his physical attackers in general, like Serra Aura, since my Landorus Therian isn't defensive, I would like to have a little bit of like support through the Reflect for my team in itself. Then I have just Morning Sun for the longevity, and turn 1 I'm basically gonna be clicking most likely one of my first 2 moves. Knock off most likely if I see SF as a lead, because it could be Taunt. In other cases I'm mostly probably leaning towards clicking Stealth Rocks or Reflect turn 1 just to support my team that way in itself. And Necrozma this week obviously won't be like a winning condition set, but hopefully it can do good amount of work supporting early on our team and position ourselves well for the mid and late game in itself. Then we are bringing a Adamant Choice Banded METAGROSS with basically stab moves and then trick as a option as a last. Mostly I wanted this thing to be a breaker, which can take advantage of things like Galar Slowking. It gives me a very strong priority with Bullet Punch, which can be nice for like Galar Moltres if it's worn down but it's not still killed. For some reason, it can outpace and then kill Mamoswine in a certain amount of health once it's been worn down by Stealth Rocks and Lifefall potentially, and prior moves that I might been able to get on it, so it's nice for that. But mainly the trick is also a big deal, because ideally I see a situation that I can bring this in versus like a Galarian Slowking for example, and then I can click trick and I give away my choice band. Ideally there should not be really a bad outcome from that, because if he stays in, attacks me for example, which could happen, I'm basically clippering Galar Slowking not be able to change his moves, which would be a big deal. But if something like a Suicune is like a dedicated switching to this thing, which it very easily can be, I can right away cripple that thing as well, which would be a big deal. And if he makes an aggressive swap into Galar Moltres, for example, expecting me maybe not having, him expecting me to have Stealth Rocks on METAGROSS if the Necrozma hasn't got those up yet, it could kind of work in an aggressive play as well. But most importantly, the trick should work beneficially for me versus the Galar Slowking if he stays in, or if he swaps into the likely Suicune, assume Suicune does show up into this matchup in itself. Then we're gonna be having like a special defensive Citrus Berry holding Primarina with a Moonblast, Scald, Flip Turn and Perish Song. Basically it's there to just pivot around things like Galar Moltres earlier on if needed to. I do have another thing also having to take dedicated hits from it if necessary. But it's also there to get a slow pivot on Suicune, and I also have Perish Song there to kind of make sure that like a Calm Mind Suicune, a Calm Mind Galar Slowking, a Dual Dance Moltres if I have to worry about a weakness policy or reducing berry on it, I can kind of deter those getting out of hand by just clicking this move. And Flip Turn is just important to gain the initiative, and this thing is most likely gonna lure in Galar Slowking, which goes well then things like METAGROSS and Landorus Terran, or my next member of the team to take advantage of it in different ways. And now, our main breaker this week that he doesn't really have a dedicated answer to be honest. He has to really focus on dealing with this thing 1v1 and not lose to it too hard. Like, he has a ways to revenge skill Hydreigon, which this week we are running Choice Specs on, and Modest Nature as well. So like he will intensify Hydreigon able to break his team very easily, and he doesn't really have a counterplay to it. So it's gonna most likely force him to more offensive approach in my opinion because of that. And I do think there's a small chance he's gonna try something like a light screen support on his team, which I could have tried to bring like Brick Break for my team, but I did see dual screens on one of my mocks and I still managed to go and deal with the team regardless. So I didn't feel like I needed to make that kind of change. And I've also had a tendency that he probably will notice as he's scouting me that my Hydreigon very often has been a nasty plot set, which was originally the set that I thought about going to this matchup to bypass Suicune. But Addison noted to me that just run Choice Specs this week, don't overthink it, and I'm trusting her with that. And I'm just trying to make sure that like I have things like Trick METAGROSS with Choice Band, I have Perish Song Primarina, so if the Suicune does show up to be like a Calm Mind set, it has Rest for recovery. I do have another ways to deal with that thing, and Choice Spec Hydreigon should be better versus everything else. I can click a Dragon Pulse and 2 FK on most things. I have Dark Pulse because he's only real Dark Resist are Galar Moltres and Blaziken, and out of those really Galar Moltres is the one that I'm worried about able to take those well. I have a Draco Meteor that I can drop very freely if I really don't have a too much throwback to be -2 afterwards, because he doesn't actually have a Fairy on their team and their Steel type is a Steelix. And then I also have Earth Power because ground coverage was basically outside of my dual stabs the best potential coverage. And I'm not clicking like U-turn at any point. I'm not clicking like a status moves with things. I'm clicking choice specs, modest attacking moves with Hydreigon most of the time. So that's gonna be basically it, and there's not real reason for me to overthink it too much in itself. And then, as my last one of the team is going to be a Assault Vest Inner Focus Raikou, and this is hopefully gonna be also one of my failsafes to a Galar Moltres, which I think late game wise would be his best tool to utilize as a winning condition. I do think that's the case. And me being Inner Focus is actually very important, because then like Fiery Wrath, which is its signature dark move, that has a chance to flinch. It won't be able to flinch me now that way, because I am Inner Focus and therefore I'm avoiding getting flinched by that. It can also work versus like a Choice Scout Mamoswine with Icicle Grass, I guess, in the worst case scenario, but it's mostly for the Galar Moltres. And then I have Discharge, because I don't think I need Thunderbolt for the 2-hit KOs that I would need. So having just the extra chance of getting a para might be something that couldn't come into my play. We have Skull to hit the Mamoswine, and again Burn Chance might be nice. We have Shadow Ball to hit the Galar Slowking and the Azelf most importantly. And then I have Volt Switch for the initiative, which we'll see how often I get to click it. There might be scenarios that I can click Volt Switch relatively free, because I don't think like Mamoswine wants to hard switch on Raikou too often at all. And Zeraora would also have to risk a Scald Burn. So there's a good chance he may have to use like Galar Slowking or maybe Rotom if that shows up to be a swap in. So there might be actually opportunities more often than not when you look a little bit closer and think about the matchup for me to click the momentum. But the first three moves are the big ones, because they have good coverage. The secondary effects can come in play, like I can get a Speed F drop, I can get a burn, I can get a para. So Raikou, besides being like this bulky but with Assault Vest, but also being fast, max speed, and also having almost max special attack, it can still do a good amount of work and can do damage to his offense when needed to. So that's gonna be the team, and I'm gonna be coming back. For me, it's gonna be 2 hours before the game starts, but for you, it is only just 2 seconds from here. Let's go. Let's see how this goes. Alright, here we are with the battle versus Kurt, and he was kind enough to actually share the 6 for our layout purposes. And in case you did not pay attention to the layout prior to this point, the only change that I had to do before I started recording this part is that he did not bring Suicune. Instead of it, he has Rotom. But everything else were kind of what I was expecting. So first glance, I would imagine this is probably like, I could see like dual screens offense with Galar Moltres being a dual setup. The lead options would be, to me, either Rotom to try to get them off, or Azelf. Those two definitely learned them. Azelf would be like a Focus Sash lead if I had to guess. And there versus it I would probably knock off, and versus Rotom I might also go for knock off right away to limit potential screens. But right now he's probably actually doing his introduction for this, so I might be cutting out just a little bit just when he's ready to go, so stay tuned. Alright, here we are, and yeah, my lead for sure, I believe it's still gonna be sticking the same that I've been planning coming into this, which is my Necrozma, because I can either go for knock off to remove an item in front of me, I can go for Stealth Rocks, I can go for a Reflect. Any of those are fine. Versus like a dual screen Rotom lead or Azelf, versus both of those I would be clicking knock off, and we would go from there. He could also be focused as Mamoswine, but I don't think that's likely, because Life Orb Mamoswine or Mamoswine in general has a phenomenal matchup, and I think there's a reason why he had it first on his team. But let's see how this goes. I'm gonna be looking my 6 in, and we're gonna be waiting on for him. The last time that I got to play him was quite a while ago. It was probably over a year or 2 years by now, actually thinking about it, which feels like forever. And last time we did also play in a playoff scenario that we were in a semi-finals, and fortunately enough for him, he did beat me very narrowly 1-0 if I remember right. So, but it's been a long time since then, and we haven't actually had a chance to play ever since. So I'm pretty excited for this. He was the 8th seed going to this. He barely made it, but you just need to make it, and then you have the same chance as everybody else. And we are gonna be jumping into as a number 1 seed, but it won't matter too big scheme of things, or like basically at all. It's just seeding wise, but I don't really think too much out of it as advantage otherwise. As he leads with the Rotom. So I believe my best play is to click knockoff, because I do imagine this being a screens. So he's gonna be able to get 1 screen. If I had to predict, it's gonna be light screen first. But at least the reflect would be the one I can limit a little bit. So I'll go for knockoff first. As I'm faster than it. And it's likely, yep, I figured. He goes for light screen first, but immediately I limited those turns. That's fantastic. Thank God I had some speed on this guy. And now I go for Stealth Rocks. Yep, so it was likely, as I predicted. And my speed creep worked. Frankly, he may not be like too speedy himself at all, and maybe did not expect me to have Knockoff, but that's a big turn for me. And I did about 24%. Does that tell me his max HP? Or what does that tell me? So I'll try to pay attention to what he goes for. Yeah, reflect, okay. So if it's utility, max HP, that's probably like max HP variant. With dual screens. At this point I actually want to go for my own screen, so I go for reflect of my own now. So I get up that for 8 turns, which keeps me safe from Mamoswine most importantly. As he goes for Volt Switch, which I imagine I'll take just fine. So that put me at 155. Yeah, that's like a probably like max HP, maybe like max Spdef. As the Moltres comes in right away. This makes me think your weakness policy. So in a way I could just stay and go for knockoff and get rid of the weakness policy. Because the screens are up. I think I'll go for the knockoff, get the weakness policy away. Because I do have a Southwest Raikou in the back. So afterwards I can just set these shots with it. But if I'm able to eliminate this thing's item already, and if it's dual dance, there might be a small chance I actually outpace it. We'll see. He does go for the nasty plot, yep. So I have to get rid of the weakness policy right away. Yep. Now, how many turns do you have screens at the moment? You have 1 turn of light screen left. So if I go into Raikou right away afterwards, I think these shots should be handling it just fine. Or I go to Primarina. No, I think Raikou is fine. I'm a Southwest after all. So Raikou comes in on this, has the agilities. He will get himself into +3 if he happens to live because of the Berserk. So I have to be wary of that. So at this point, I believe my play is to discharge, because I have Bullet Punch in the back to handle this. If it happens to live. As he goes for Fiery Wrath. This can't flinch me, because I'm inner focus. So I go for a discharge. As he happens to live. And doesn't get the Berserk. But the reflect is gone, so I know now that my... Yeah, now I know, do I actually live a Ice Shot from Mamoswine at this range? Because that's the one thing I could see this being valuable for. I am at 65. I do not live that anymore. So I'm better off just clicking Volt Switch off the chance he doesn't go for a kill. Yeah, he does go for that. But here I can go for a Bullet Punch. I don't believe he has a Hazard Remover on his team. Which means this should be dead by now. Once I click the Bullet Punch, that is. So we go for that. And finish it off. And there we go. So I have to make sure that the Moltres on their side is dead. And for my end, Raikou is dead. Raikou being gone is unfortunate because it's one of the things outpacing the Mamoswine and able to scald it. But I need to keep this METAGROSS around for Bullet Punch. That should handle the Mamoswine still fine. As he goes into Rotomo. Probably just try to get up screens again. So at that point I could just go into Hydreigon and go for a massive deck hit. I think that's the play. And now his Dark Resist is also gone, so Dark Pulse became like very free now. So we go into Hydreigon on this. Probably see Light Screen first as we do. Now does a Draco kill this actually, because then I can prevent a Reflect. Rotomo, if it's utility, max HP and max BDF, let's say. Well, at that point the Light Skin also would come into play. Yeah, I don't ever kill it here. So my best play is to Dark Pulse and hope for a flinch. So we just go for that. We go for Dark Pulse, which should be doing a lot. As it just Volt Switches out. I do still have, I think, Reflect up. But we'll see how long it's actually gonna be. I should be checking it as he sends some more out. Just to know. Because I got the full 8 turns out of it. I guess more regret in a hindsight I wasn't actually Thunderbolt on Raikou. For that Moltres scenario, but I think it's still okay. But METAGROSS looks very valuable in this matchup because it can Bullet Punch the Mamoswine. It should be able to live a hit from Azelf. And I have Scarf Landorus there and also as a win con in the back. So like Scarf Landorus combined with Bullet Punch, METAGROSS should be my win cons at the moment. Nala, which is the... Wait, how did this Suicune end up being on his team? Oh, I missed it completely. Okay, so he had... He did not have Slowking. I don't know why I did not realize it by now, but... It should be still fine. Because I have Primarina. I don't know why I'm getting blind. I'm getting old. I'm getting old, guys. But Suicune, we just add into the layout. As he goes for Calm Mind. But this is fine. Because I have Berry's Song for this. Particularly for this mon, I needed to have the Berry's Song. Okay. So now we click the Berry's Song. As he goes for Toxic, yeah, so it's the Calm Mind, Toxic, I would assume like leftovers, like Scald, Toxic, Protect, Calm Mind kind of set. Which I'm perfectly fine with. I did not actually pay attention to the Reflect. I believe it's probably gone by now, right? Yeah, it's gone by now. So I do have an option actually flip turning here. and get that reflect back up. I'll just do that. I doubt he's gonna stay for too long here. Because now I can position myself in a way that I do have the reflect up for the Mamoswine and Zeraora, which is big. And I want to keep this thing around because I'm sure he's gonna be preserving this as well. So I'll just go into this and get up that reflect. He may go for a Toxic, but I don't think it should really matter too much. As I'm seeing this being a more of a fast-paced game, so I don't think like me racking up by a Toxic is that important. As his reflect is gone, or light screen is gone. He could also make a swap soon to the Rotom, which would be interesting. Should I worry about that? No, I think it's better to do what I was supposed to here to do, because he may go for a Toxic, and I don't want my Hydreigon to be Toxic there. As he goes for Scald. He's gonna do a decent amount, and he gets the burn. But now I have the option to either go for Morning Sun to keep this thing healthy, or I double into Hydreigon, because I could see the Rotom coming back in. I think I predict the Rotom and go into my Hydreigon. I don't see you clicking Toxic here. Zeraora and Mamoswine behind a Reflect don't make much sense for me. As he withdraws, let's see the Rotom. I believe that's the Rotom. Yeah. And honestly, Dragon Pulse is still fine here. So we go for that. And finish off this Rotom. So Rotom is dead. I need Primarina for Suicune, 100%. That will never be a non-option now that I've like, finally realized that there was no Galar Slowking. I don't know why still like I saw it that way. He even sent it to me, and like some reason I just I assumed that Suicune wasn't there when I saw the Rotom Mo. Oh well, it's fine. Thankfully I did realize it there and nothing happened to the Primarina in the meantime. But he has now, I should be taking out his Rotom away. As the Zeraora comes in. I believe that was Air Balloon that I just saw. Info. For my end, I do still have a Reflect up. How should I go about this? Should I just attack this thing? I believe so. I should leave a hit behind a Reflect, so I'll go for Dragon Pulse. As is Calm Mind. That's fine. I have Choice Scarf. I have a Choice Scarf Landorus. So I can go for a big Dragon Pulse. It still should do a decent amount. Yep, that did a lot. There's no way you can really like afford to really set up further, so I think I'll just go into you. And then I can get my Landorus in and click U-turn. I believe that's how we go about this. I believe because you get access to Aura Sphere. Or Hyper Beam. Oh, it was okay, I don't know why, I'm being really blind today, but I guess it was normal gem. Clearly it was a high... Okay, so that gives me a free turn to do whatever I want now. As my Necrozma is dead. I don't know what's happening today that I'm so blind. Maybe it's the new OBS that, because I like updated, it's throwing me off still. Like now I can just literally just go into Landorus, I believe. Or I could go into my... I could go into Hydreigon. If I go into Landorus, I reveal myself to be Scarf. So maybe keeping that information hidden is better for me. So I'll go to Hydreigon. I'll keep the information about Landorus hidden a little bit longer. Because he's locked into this. Well, like he has to reach us basically. This should kill. We saw the damage prior. So this should be taking it out just fine. Alright, the Zero is dead. And I'll take it from the layout as well. I need Primarina for Suicune at this point. METAGROSS for bullet punching the... yeah, METAGROSS looks very important because it helps with the Azelf. It helps with the Mamoswine. It has even Trick to cripple the Suicune. Yeah, METAGROSS looks fantastic here. But Primarina also looks nice here. April. This is the Azelf. Okay. My option is to go like hard into Landorus because I believe I would leave anyone hit. And then I can just U-turn out. Yeah, I believe that's the play. Let's go to Landorus. He's probably clicking like Dazzling Gleam at this point or going for a Nasty Plot. Yeah, there comes the Dazzling Gleam. Let's see if you're like Life Orb, for example. No, that did 113 to me. So, Azelf. We put Dazzling Gleam there. This could be like Expert Build as well, I suppose. And you put me down into 113. That could have been just a high roll, but here Konoko would ensure a kill. But I could also just go for U-turn for the momentum, so I think I'll click the U-turn. As he does live, but that should be still okay. It's a Citrus Berry, okay. Here I believe METAGROSS should be fine going to. Because I believe Bullet Punch should take it out just fine. Yeah, Bullet Punch will take it out. As he goes for Psychic and I'll eat it just fine. And the Reflect World out. Here I'll just Bullet Punch. It should take it out, right? Yeah, it does. Good. See, so the Azelf is dead. This is their 6th. Mamoswine has really hard time right now coming in yet. Suicune, I just need to have this thing with a trick. Especially if the Suicune is the last one, as long as he's not like substituted with it. So I kind of want to keep Primarina as well. Like Primarina is the hardcore check to it. As he goes into Nala, which is the Suicune. My option right away could be honestly going to Hydreigon, but taking any damage on it and leave it in Ice Shot range would be a little annoying. So perhaps going to you, being the Primarina is still fine. I think we do the Primarina play. Because if he makes like a double into Mamoswine, it's still taking the Stealth Rocks, like it has to take them twice then. Yeah, as he goes for Calm Mind. He could predict my Perish Song right away, so in a way I could go for attack first. Do I care about that? I'll just Perish Song. Because he forces his hand as well with the last 2 monsters, like he has to swap at some point. Like, yeah, you come in here. But now you took Stealth Rocks. And I have a sack in Landorus, to be fair. Like, Landorus doesn't have a huge purpose anymore. So I'll keep this thing around. We go into Landorus and sack it. Landorus has done its job. What point of health does this thing die to my METAGROSS Mamoswine? After another round of rocks, if he's not like max HP or what have you. Like I can use Hydreigon first if it's not like gone for Icicle Crash first, because then it could still be like Choice Scarf, I suppose. I put him into a corner there, and I just need to make sure that I have Primarina for that Suicune. And METAGROSS. He may be oblivious, as he is. As he goes for the Icicle Crash, okay. Do we see Life Orb damage? That would be important to see. We do see the Life Orb damage. I believe Hydreigon then is fine. Hydreigon should be fine, because I'm pretty sure I still live this. Yeah, I live the Ice Shot, I'm at 143. And Dragon Pulse should kill you. So we click that. I'll just put my Landorus to be gone as well, so my first is dead. As he swaps into Suicune, is this gonna be really taking this? Because I'm modest specs. That's the thing. I know how well you take this. Alright, Choice Specs, Modest Hydreigon. Let's see that damage. Okay, that could be a 2-hit KO. He would have to go on for, like, have to get, like, leftovers, for example, as well. Like, this is a lot for him to having to take. And I can go for another one. I leave it to the point that he cannot really do all too much other than like Toxic or Scald. But we just go for the Dragon Pulse once again. Come on, Hydreigon. I know what kind of roll that is, but let's get the roll if it's a roll. Ah, he barely lives. Goes for Toxic. But that should be still fine, I believe. As long as I'm above 125 HP, I think my Hydreigon should always live. So here's the option. Do I just swap on the Protect? Do I swap on the Protect and just go into Primarina? Because then I can Moonblast. Is that necessary? No, I think it's fine just to stay in, because I think, because he is Life Orb, I don't think he can win the exchange, what I have left. Because, like, yeah, he may kill me here, after this Toxic, with a Mamoswine. But I should be able to just plow through this. I leave it in a range of Bullet Punch. He does get the double protect. I have to pay attention to how many Dragon Pulses I had left. That's very lucky of him. How many do I still have? I get one more. Like, I should have just enough. Alright, thank you. Thank you. I was about to say, like, don't tell me you're getting a triple. Alright. So I'm burning 2 out of those 3, but I have one more which means I'm putting him into a, I believe, in a checkmate situation. Because he has to ice shot me to kill me. As the Suicune is dead. So they're fourth. The moment that I was like completely overlooking through most of the matchup. Yeah, you take Stealth Rocks as well. Like Stealth Rocks plus... They should 100% be in range. Like I'm gonna die to Ice Shot. For sure. But Hydreigon, this is the first time you fall down Hydreigon this season. I'm sorry. But you did really well. You did really well, King. And now, just Choice Bandit, Bullet Punch is what we need. Choice Bandit, Bullet Punch. I'll just take my 5th gun. Unfortunately, Hydreigon did fell down there. And now, just Bullet Punch. Bullet Punch for the win, Metacross. Choice Bandit, Adamant, Bullet Punch surely takes this Mammothswine out. And we should be going to the semi-finals of the Champions of Galar Tournament Season 2. Let's freaking go. Great game to Kirby. I think it was a really fun roller coaster season for him. Like, it wasn't probably good for his heart rate in itself. It's probably not the doctor what was ordering for him necessarily, because he was going up and down, like can he make it or not. But great game to him. I'm glad that I got to play him before the Generation 8 finished, since it's like literally we only got to play that one time. It was the playoff game and I barely lost that, but I'm able to clutch it out here, and now I can go into the top 4 of the Champions Galar and then be just one win away to be taking a finals appearance. But we'll see. Check out all the other courses as well. The link will be down below in the description, including my opponent. And until next week, I'm gonna be see you guys later.